There is only the mind and mental formations. The mind depends on these mental formations to stir and fabricate, assigning value to various conditions. This process exists as it is, appearing in this present moment, and then dissolving in this present moment. There is no one being born, no one ceasing, and no story unfolding. Dharma is simply this. There is no past, no future, no concept of time, no physical form, and no mental form. There is only the fluctuation of natural phenomena. Our mind is like a clear, empty element, similar to the clear emptiness in front of us. This natural state of clear emptiness has never been born and never ceases. It neither comes nor goes. Take a look. The clear emptiness is right here before us. There is no merit, no sin, no good, no evil, no wholesome, no unwholesome, no stories of any kind. Darkness passes through the clear emptiness, and then the darkness dissolves. Light passes through the clear emptiness, and then the light dissolves. A storm appears in the clear emptiness, and then it dissolves. All living and non-living things appear in the clear emptiness, and then they dissolve. This clear emptiness is not anything in relation to anything else. It is timeless. It arises because of the fabrication of mental formations, which create conventions. This Dharma is the supreme Dharma, the Dharma beyond all fabrications. It is the Dharma that we all possess. Our mind is this Dharma element. It is the element of emptiness, sunyata. It is the clear empty element. It is the life element. It is the origin element of all fabricated elements. The mental element, namadhatu, arises from this pure element. And the physical element, rupadhatu, also arises from this pure element. This pure element is the origin element, the zero element. It is the element that is zero at all times. It is the element where time is zero, and dimension is the zero dimension. It is the neutral element, the present element, existing continuously as the present element. The term present element does not inherently have a label or language calling it present element. This Dharma element is completely free from fabrication. The sound that the teacher is speaking now is a fabricated element, referred to as a mental element, namadhatu, stirred and fabricated from this pure Dharma element. Mental formations, siddha sankhara, ***, arise from the mind. When our mind is ignorant and deluded, relying on these mental formations, they transform into forms, referred to as subtle bodies. The nature of the mind is simply the way it is. Whenever we fixate on a certain condition, that condition immediately becomes a form called self. For instance, if we imagine the face of our elderly parents or grandparents, frail and unable to move or do much, an image of them will appear in our mind. This is an example of what is referred to as self. Whenever we focus on a sound, an image, an emotion, or a sensation, the sense of self arises and takes shape as a form. These forms can manifest as either gross physical forms or subtle forms. We need to deeply understand this Dharma principle. It is a teaching that should not be overthought. This Dharma is entirely free from thought. It is a direct transmission from mind to mind. Why is it said to be free from thought? Because the sound being spoken now is not truly a sound. If one perceives it as a sound, it means one still sees it as something with self. That indicates one is still blind, still fully governed by ignorance, avijja. As long as ignorance dominates the heart, the opportunity to realize Dharma remains out of reach. The teacher instructs us in Dharma by focusing on the mind, pointing to the principle of anatta, non-self, and the essence of awakening, referred to as satipatthana, the establishment of mindfulness. The teaching is delivered in a way that allows us to gradually understand. However, if this is presented in its ultimate truth, we cannot comprehend it using the brain or through thought. We must use the mind itself to understand, as this is a transmission from mind to mind. It is a pointer for us to see the Dharma element, which is beyond language. As these words are being spoken, know that this is not sound. There is no need to conceptualize or label it as sound, nor to impose conventions upon it. This natural state requires no conventions. Its sole function is to know things as they truly are. As the Buddha taught, Whatever reality is like, simply know it as it is. There is no need to intentionally try to know. We simply observe the awareness that naturally knows, allowing it to function on its own. Phenomena arise and contact awareness, appearing and dissolving simultaneously. All we need to do is observe and incline our understanding towards the truth that all natural phenomena exist as they are. Nothing is us or ours. This knowledge is beyond language, realization that emerges directly from the mind itself. Knowing in accordance with reality does not rely on conventions or use them as a basis for understanding. It is a direct realization of truth by the mind. When the mind knows reality without language, without stories, we incline ourselves towards understanding without striving to comprehend anything. Simply listen to the Dharma being shared by the teacher, with the sole duty of being aware, continuously aware. The teacher frequently reminds us, do not think, do not use the brain. Your only role is to know, to observe, and to follow along naturally. There is no someone who understands. Let nature itself know and understand in its own way. This process continues until the emergence of a Buddha nature, a sudden realization. Tears may flow. A profound sense of lightness and extraordinary peace arises within. There is a feeling of inner radiance. Unexpectedly, you break free from certain conditions. This realization is so moving that tears may fall. A knowledge beyond language emerges, a deep understanding within. It is entirely a matter of the mind. When the mind breaks free from mental formations, citta sankhara, and detaches from conditions, you will experience liberation. The mind transforms into a state of pure emptiness, merging with all existence. It no longer feels burdened as before. It clings to nothing and abides in freedom, separate and independent. Tears may flow. You may hear the sound of sadhu, resounding all around. There may even be a vision of the body breaking apart, shattering entirely into emptiness. Or you might perceive a brilliant light encompassing the entire infinite cosmos. Or perhaps there is no vision or sign at all, yet you know with your whole heart that the mind has been released. A profound inner understanding arises, leaving no doubts. Even if the Buddha were standing before you, there would be no need to ask anything. It is like a person who has been asleep for a long time and suddenly wakes up. Upon awakening, standing and walking, they know with certainty that they are awake. Those who are awake know they are awake. Meanwhile, those who are still asleep can only dream about how to wake up or wonder what being awake might be like. Those who are asleep and dreaming cannot truly understand what being awake is. They may dream that they are waking up, dream that they are trying to wake up, or dream that they are finding a way to wake up, but all of it remains a dream within sleep. All of us are mind, pure, clear, and empty in essence. When the mind learns in the world of conventions, it must rely on the stirring and fabrications of mental formations. The mind relies on citta sankhara, mental formations, on thoughts, emotions, and awareness to process and understand. Yet these stirrings and fabrications arise and pass away. Even as the mind engages with these fabrications, it does not find answers to why it is learning. It only knows that it must rely on these fabrications to learn. Similarly, as we listen to sound, we rely on it to assign meaning. In truth, we have never been born, and we do not possess physical forms. This thing we call a body is not truly ours. Yet, we assign value and create meaning, saying, this is my left arm, my right arm, my left leg, my right leg, my fingers. We label it male or female, assigning identity based on sound and convention. The teacher tries to show us that all formations are anatta, non-self. The 5 aggregates, khanda, are also non-self. When simplified, the 5 aggregates reduce to one thing: mental formations. Citta sankhara creates the 5 aggregates, but it is not a real entity. It is merely a phenomenon arising due to ignorance, avijja. When the mind clings to a particular condition, the sense of self arises. But if the mind does not fix itself on anything, abiding instead in emptiness, in nothingness, then all conditions transform into formless states, like the wind, without shape or substance. However, As soon as the mind fixates on something, it takes form. This form can become a subtle body, a manifestation with a sense of self. This is the natural characteristic of the Dhamma element. It is similar to scientific principles. If we study the smallest components of atoms, smaller than quarks, and quantum particles, we might come to understand that the mind is the subtlest of all elements. Our mind is a pure, clear, and empty element, like the clear emptiness present before us.